What's going on, guys? Matt back again, this time for a TV review. I'm going to be reviewing Stranger Things 3, Episode 6, titled E Pluribus Unum, written by Curtis Gwynn and directed by Uda Berzowitz. I think Uda Berzowitz directed another one of these episodes. I can't remember if this is the last one or the one before, but I know this is the second, maybe the third one that Uda has done. Let's go ahead and jump into it. The first note I have here are the visual effects. The problem I have with the visual effects are the goo monster isn't scary because you show it all the time and it's always CGI. So this episode picks up with the last one left off with the goo monster coming after Nancy and Jonathan in the hospital. Now, when you if you're gonna have it be CGI, you can't show it all the time, or it takes away the scare value. It's not very scary if, as an audience member, you're just watching this goo monster walk around these hallways and you never use practical effects. You're just never really threatened by it. Also, at the end of the episode, when all the people are melting and coming together with the mind flare at the end, they do CGI clothes again. You see the lifeguard girl from the first episode that was kidnapped by Billy. She falls down and melts, and her clothes are also CGI as well as the actual meat and everything that's melting. Just a really bad look, and I would have just not used that shot at all, or I just would have used practical goo material in actual clothing. Otherwise, it looks like a video game, which it does in that shot. Moving on to the writing. Going back to the beginning of the episode, the goo monster goes through the door to where Nancy is, where she's locked herself in. I have here the goo monster taking so long to kill Nancy just so the kids can conveniently show up just in time. It's just bad writing. If you're going to have the goo monster come in to the same room with Nancy, you need to either have it kill her, which nobody wants that to happen, everybody likes Nancy, or have the kids show up when it's in the process of coming through the door or just after it enters the door. You can't have the goo monster enter the door, hit her against the wall, and then slowly crawl over her and then scream in her face. Why is it doing all this? Why is it not just killing her like it would with any other unimportant character? If Nancy wasn't Nancy and she was just, I don't know, a janitor at the hospital, it would have just killed her immediately. But because she's a main character, it takes forever to even try to kill her. Just bad writing, in my opinion. Sticking with the writing, I have here Hopper giving Alexei the car keys and the cuff keys is very stupid, even though he ends up being right. As far as they know, he could have been a really bad guy and just driven off. I think that was, it didn't make, in the end, Hopper was right, so he does end up looking smart about his theory about Alexei not being able to go back to the Russians because they know that they would have hurt him because they would have thought that he would have given up some information. So he does end up being right. It's just in that moment, it's just not a very smart thing to do. There had to be another way to get information out of him. You know, after he gives Alexei the strawberry shake or whatever it is, he ends up taking them and throwing them on the table. Why couldn't you have just done that to begin with? You know, why are you, I don't know, just that whole part, I just thought it just made, it could have gone very badly. You know, there's only one person there that speaks Russian, other than Alexei, of course. You have no idea who this guy is. You're just going to give him the car keys and the cuff keys and just let him ride off. I don't know. I just really didn't like that. Another thing is, how does Dustin know how to deactivate a vent fan? I understand that, you know, he built this radio signal called Cerebro or whatever, and they do introduce that he's kind of an inventor and he understands technology, but he is still just a kid. You know, you have him and Erica down in these vents, and he's able to take the cover off of this thing and rewire it to turn the fan off. It gets to a point to where it's like, okay, are these kids or not? Are they, you know, they are children. I felt the first two seasons did a better job of telling their stories while maintaining that these are kids. Now they're getting kidnapped by Russians and saving their friends from Russians and deactivating vent fans. It's just getting ridiculous. Another thing for the writing I have here is Alexei says that the Russian facility was made by the best Russian minds and guarded by the best Russian warriors. But Steve and the kids broke in, which devalues the threat of the Russian antagonist in the show, when even the threat of the Mind Flayer is already devalued by 11. This season has a really bad guy problem with little threats. And it's true. When you say that the best Russian minds and the best Russian warriors are in this facility, and you have these kids breaking in by accident, it really devalues your antagonist. You know, the Mind Flayer has already gotten his ass kicked one time when 11 threw Billy through the wall and then he ran off. And that's my next point here with the plot. 11 beats the Mind Flayer's ass again, throwing it out through a hospital window, like she did with Billy when she threw him through the wall. And then he gets away. I have here, it makes the big bad of the series less and less of a threat. And it's really repetitive. And it is. So far, 11 is 2-0 against the Mind Flayer, as we know so far, is the big bad of the show. It's the thing that is apparently the leader of the Upside Down. And she has kicked his ass twice already in this one season. You know, this season does a good job with the characters, with characterization and character progression. But man, the threats in this season are a joke compared to the first two seasons. It's really bad. The last thing I have, the two kids, Erica and Dustin, are able to sneak back. They've already done it they've snuck into the Russian facility one time by accident. Now they're using that green acid goo, and they sneak right back into the Russian facility. They somehow know where the Russians are keeping Steve and Robin, and they save them. At this point, am I supposed to be scared of the Russians? Am I supposed to be scared of the Mind Flayer? No, I mean, it's just everything. The bad guys are a joke in this season. And also, I have to point out when Robin and Steve are tied together, she reveals that she had a crush on him and she was obsessed with him in school. No problem with that in this episode. Going forward, when I review the next episode, I'll show you a problem that this show has with the writing and the consistency. Just keep that in mind, that Robin clearly is, she says it herself, obsessed with Steve. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so with all these problems I've had with this season, or this episode, I'm going to give this episode a 7 out of 10. It's not the weakest episode of the season. I think that's still episode 4. I think I gave that one a 6. That's the lowest, I think that's the lowest rated episode of this season I have. But yeah, 7 out of 10 for episode 6, E Pluribus Unum. If you guys agree or disagree, let me know in the comments below. Please like this video. Please subscribe. Hit the notification bell for future episodes, and y'all have a good one.